Hi, this is Daniel. I'm going to share with you 10 awesome tricks I wish I knew when I started photography. So buckle your seatbelts and take some notes because these are going to be some tricks and techniques you can use in your very next photo shoot. And stay tuned till the end of the video where I share a brand new opportunity for learning and education that you're not going to want to miss. So tip number one is use your location. If you look around, this location is not particularly beautiful. This is not where anyone would probably stop and say, I want to do a photo shoot there. But this is a great lesson, is to learn to look around in your location, scout locations around your town, take pictures of them, save them on your computer with their names. So you have a literal folder of locations to offer your clients, but look around for features. So if I'm looking around here, I see this ledge right here. A lot of possibilities for sitting poses. We've got a pole we can use. We've got a metal riveted wall. A really rustic looking wood wall back here, a cinder block wall, lots of options. When I look at a place, my mind starts highlighting stuff and saying, I can do a pose there, I can do a pose there, that's a background, that's a background, that's a foreground. That's how I look at my locations. All right, point number two is educate your client on what you'll be doing and what you will not be doing during your photo shoot. This takes place before the photo shoot, and you can even use a contract to make sure everything is clearly understood and signed on. You should include things like image rights, who owns the photos, what the photos will be used for and not used for, what can the client do or not do with the photos, such as print, use commercially, things like that, editing. You want to outline all the rules and expectations that you have for them. All the questions should be answered early on so that there's no surprises later. Tip number three is schedule your photo shoot at the specific time of day for the best sunlight. For me, I like to shoot during golden hour, which is about 1 hour before sunset time, which remember changes throughout the year. So once you pick a photo shoot date, Google it and look up what the exact sunset time is for that city at that date of the year, and you'll be good to go. It's good to use natural light. It's easy, it's free, it's everywhere, but it does change, so be aware of as your shoot goes on, your lighting quality and type of light will change. Shooting during golden hour is a lot easier and more creative because the sun is lower, which means you have a side light or a front light or a back light or another side light, depending on what angle you shoot your model from. If you shoot during the middle of the day, especially noontime, the sun is right above you, which not only makes ugly shadows, but no matter what angle you shoot from, the sunlight is still coming downward at a not great angle, and it's really hard to work with. The only exception for this is, of course, if it's an overcast day where the clouds are diffusing and softening the light on your subject, and those days are really easy to shoot at, and it gives you a different vibe than a clear sky. I'm gonna do the same type of photo, but from a different angle, and you'll see what I'm talking about with the sun being at different directions. So first, the sun hitting her from the side, and then straight on, awesome. And then from the other side, very dramatic shadows because of where the sun is, and then all the way over, lots of contrast, almost a silhouette. So I'm gonna take a portrait of her in the open sunlight, and then we're gonna move just a few feet over here into the shadowless building, and I'll show you what it looks like and how different it is when you go from sunlight to shade. Awesome, and then same pose, just come forwards a little bit. Keep coming, right there, yeah, same. So in the shade, the light is soft and even and diffused, but you have less shadow and dramatic shaping. Tip number four is learn manual exposure. That's the M on your camera mode dial. Manual exposure gives you complete control over how your photos look and over the exposure of your photos. Manual exposure is made of three different settings: your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO. The order that I like to do this when I start my photo shoot is first I set my shutter speed. Is my client moving? Are the kids running around? Is it a dancer? Is it an athlete? Or are we just standing still and posing and looking pretty? I base my shutter speed based on the action and movement of my subject. Next is I go to my aperture. The aperture is the hole in your lens that lets light through. If it's large, you get more light in and a shallower depth of field, which means more blurry background and foreground. But if this hole is smaller, that's gonna be a sharper photo, but less of that background blur and foreground blur, less bokeh as it's called. Lastly, I do my ISO, which is kind of like a digital amplification of your brightness. If you need to crank it up, if you're shooting in low light, you gotta do that, but it's gonna introduce noise. If you don't need to do that, put it down as low as you can so you get less noise in your photo. And that's my order: is shutter, aperture, ISO. All right, tip number five is get a variety in your portraits. Don't do all your portraits, a full photo shoot, with the same type of portrait. There are at least 4 different types of portraits, and that has to do with composition. There's a headshot, a medium shot, full body, and a wide angle photo. So be sure to get a good variety of those throughout your photo shoot. All right, tip number 6 is get a mix of posed photos and candid photos. So you might be asking, how do you get to a candid photo of a model or a subject like this? Well, tell them what to do. Say, hey, walk from point A to point B. Do a spin around, fix your hair, fix your tie, fix your cufflinks. It's always the cufflinks with guys, isn't it? Always fixing cufflinks. There's always actions and motions. I call it a action pose or a video pose because you could do it on video and it looks super cool. So those are great for getting more natural looking photos. If you're doing a couple, tell them to talk about their first date. Tell them to walk from over there and give them a kiss every other step. Things like that get your clients moving, it gets them loosened up, breaks the ice, and it's fun for them. But best of all, you get some really nice natural poses and expressions in your photos. Tip number 7 is if you want to invest money in improving your photo quality, put that money in a good lens rather than a new camera body, because the lens is what focuses and captures the light of your scene and turns it into a photo inside your camera. I suggest always start out by buying a 50mm f1.8 lens. They're just over $100 and they get great bokeh, so definitely buy that one first. And after that, you can invest in the bigger ones at 85 or 100 or 2470. Those are all great lenses to start learning with. They do cost a lot of money, but make sure to focus on getting a good lens because that's where the great photos start. Tip number 8, let's talk about bokeh. Bokeh is a weird word, but it actually refers to the blurriness and unfocused areas of your photo as opposed to the sharp area, which should be your subject. So if you want to increase the bokeh in your photos, here's how to do it. Step number 1 is use a longer lens. If you have a kit zoom lens, zoom all the way in as far as you can. If you have a prime lens, get one with the longest focal length, like a 85 or 100, will be better than a 16 or 35, for example. So the longer the focal length, the better, and it will increase the bokeh. The next step is to put your f-stop or your aperture as wide open as you can. If your lens can do f2.8 or 1.8, those are great for bokeh. If not, try to get the smallest number possible on your f-stop. The last tip is get as close to your subject as you can while maintaining a good composition. Let me show you an example with a wide-angle lens versus a 100mm lens. So I'm gonna take the same portrait with a wide-angle lens, real close up, like a headshot. Then I'm gonna do the same photo again with my 100mm lens. Watch what happens. This is at 16mm. Now I'm gonna take the same photo with 100mm lens right here, same settings, but different composition, because I'll have to move back really far to get that same photo. Awesome. And the closer you get to your subject, the stronger the bokeh will become. For example, if I get even closer and take the same photo, same settings, you can see the bokeh is noticeably more. And even closer, the background is just a complete blob of color, no detail. Very cool. Tip number 9 is shoot for free for a while you build up your skills and network with people. This is called TFP, which means a bunch of different abbreviations. Generally, it means trade for photos or time for portfolio. That's a situation where the model and the photographer are agreeing to help each other out by both of them building their portfolio and skills. It's a great way to do photo shoots fast, and you'll get marketing material for photo shoots later to use to actually make money with. All right, tip number 10 is stop asking what and start asking how and why. What do I mean by that? Well, I see a lot of people post on a beautiful photo that they love and they say, what are your settings? As if they're gonna go and recreate that photo spot for spot, and that just is not how real photography works. So instead of asking what are the settings and what is a camera, start asking why did you use this lens? Why did you use your aperture like that? How did you make that photo? Because those strategic questions will really get you some vital information that'll actually be usable next time you go out and shoot. Basically, the strategy behind them creating the photo, that's what you want to learn, is the DNA of an artistic photo that catches your eye, and you can use that later when you make your own photos. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you got something really helpful out of this video. Now, if you enjoy learning at a fast pace with quality content, instead of browsing endless YouTube videos, wasting hours of your week trying to get answers to your simple questions, then my upcoming video courses are for you. I'll be teaching a range of topics and skill levels from complete beginner to advanced professional. So if you're ready to take your creative visuals to the next level, then check out my courses today.